Hi.
Hi.
What's up,
Woohoo.
my lovely?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just having a beautiful day over here. I'm looking forward to coming on live today to talk about this beautiful experience you've had not too long ago and to learn more about it and really experience, what it's like to be a part of something so beautiful, and how the little girl was found, with the help of so many people, and to highlight, just the amazingness of, the intuitive abilities of of your stature, to come in and assist, so beautifully in divine timing, and the details that came about from yourself that matched, as time went on and as I was with you through the
Ash,
process. And
I
so,
hear
yeah,
this random echo
you hear a random echo? Oh no, that's not good.
and delay.
Is it me? I don't.
Is it that?
Um,
It
if
might be.
you can let us
Hold on.
know how our sound is. Can you hear us? Is there a delay?
Yeah, it's like duplicated. It's very strange. Like, what is going on here?
Hmm. Maybe I can plug in my headphones. Maybe that will make a difference.
So back to our usual technical
Hey,
difficulties, right?
so powerful. There is a lot of energy behind it, right? Especially when you're tapping in with something, so unique, and not a lot of people understand or would know, or, you know,
Ash,
even begin to fathom that this kind of, help can be provided
here,
by
I'm going to leave the
everybody.
studio and come back.
Okay.
I'm going to leave the studio and come back. And then you should, because
All right.
it's still weird.
Okay. We are troubleshooting our technical difficulties. Let us know if you can hear me, see me, if you hear an echo, if you don't hear an echo.
I think it's you, Ash.
It's me.
I think. Try to go out and come right back in. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We're just having some technical difficulties. Why is there a delay?
Hello. How am
So
I sounding?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I think we got it worked out.
Woohoo!
No.
I see over here on Instagram that my beautiful friend Andrew saying that he can hear me fine, and we look fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. You're amazing. um, Maybe you're hearing the echo. I haven't seen anybody else comment to see if there's anything wrong with my audio. So, Jonathan Wilkinson, you're
Okay.
clear. All right, so we're clear. Thank you,
All right. Thank
Jonathan.
the
You're
Lord.
amazing.
I
Woohoo!
think it was me. and the sound from Instagram. We've
Okay.
never had that issue. Like, that's so crazy. I'm
Hey,
so sorry.
Mike. It's popping in on Instagram. My good friend Michael. Hey, I see it popping in just to say hi. Sending you so much love. Thanks for stopping by. Hey.
Yes. Oh
Thanks,
my gosh.
Aisha. You're just amazing. Thank you so much for letting us know we're our audio is good. All
Hallelujah.
right.
Well, so let's, I don't know what,
Well, let's
start this
go,
thing
right?
again.
Well, let's do this. All right. So, we are here to talk about, I am here to interview this beautiful human being, Brandy Dingman. She is the DNA activator. She is my soul sister, and she has been through some incredible journeys in her life. And I've been just so privileged to meet her and see her and witness her in all of her greatness. And today we wanted to talk about a special, I guess, event that happened very, spontaneously, just dropped in her lap. And it opened up an opportunity that she took. And she chose to walk the path and share her gifts in order to find this beautiful little girl. And it was definitely a team effort. There was a lot of, individuals involved, but how everything kind of lined up and dropped in divine timing. And it's just an incredible story. So, welcome, Brandy. Thank you for your presence and your greatness. And please, if you want to say anything and introduce anything, let's continue the conversation. We have some people here ready to listen
Yay.
and receive us. Woohoo.
So exciting. So, I think today, I don't know why. So this started, well, it's technically, she went missing in September, right? Of 2023, September 30th, actually at 6:15 p.m. And I can say there's only one other time that I've used my spiritual gifts like this and in this way. So I don't know why we're now in March, and clearly I've never shared the story besides only a few people. Um, and then a few people actually knew because they saw me on the news, and I don't watch the news. So they're like, "Hey, you're that psychic medium." I was like, "How do you know?" Because I never typically define myself that way. I'll usually be like, "Hey, I'm a divine channel," or if you have questions, past, present, future, hey, I can support you. Um, but the medium work, it doesn't matter. Lord, I've ran away from that for so long. It just caught up. It was like, "Hey, girl, I'm right here." So the universe always has just constantly and consistently provided me these opportunities to use my intuitive gifts to support people. So I think, yeah, this is the journey of using, tapping into energy, right? Tapping into energetic frequency, downloading or channeling or leaning in, whatever you want to call it, of me supporting um, the little girl who was basically kidnapped while she was camping with her family in upstate New York. And interestingly enough, for me, again, I don't watch the news, but I had got the Amber Alert on my phone. And there's very specific criteria for an Amber Alert. So I got that on my phone, and I was like, wow, that's really sad, and so close, so close. Probably within 45 minutes of where I live. And I'm like, can you imagine your daughter is with you while you're camping and riding her bike on a loop, and then she's missing, like so close to you, like literally, it's just mind blowing, and I think every parent's worst freaking nightmare. I
Hmm.
just, I couldn't even imagine. I really couldn't even imagine. So
Right.
yeah.
So
This is the story.
Yeah, I mean, take us back to that moment when you first heard about this little girl because you didn't know all of these details at the beginning, right?
Right.
So when you got that connection and, someone reached out to you and said, "Hey, this is happening. Can you help?" Take
Right.
us back to that moment.
Okay, sure. So my son's father, we co-parent, and he had, called me that morning. And so I'd seen the Amber Alert, and so that happened on September 30th of 2023. So this was October 2nd in the morning, early in the morning. And he called me and he's like, "Hey, my business partner, um, the little girl who is missing is his, one of his best friends, niece and daughter." So I was like, "Oh, wow." So, that brought it closer to home. I never thought about in that moment initially to be like, "Hey, let me try to communicate with a little girl who's missing." That was not my first thought, even in those, the first day and a half. But when he said that, it just brought it closer to home. I was like, "Oh my gosh, well, I have worked with someone who we tapped into her brother who went missing in the Philippines." So I've done something kind of similar, but in my mind, when you're expanding your gifts and you're, learning more about them and growing them, it'll take you time for certain things to be like, aha. So yeah, he
Yeah.
called me and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "All right, let me see if I can tap in." That's all I said to him. I said, "Send me a picture. Let me see if I tap in." So he sent me the picture, and I'll play the video quickly for you guys so you can see what he sent me. Um, so that's her beautiful, adorable, cute little face. Oh my gosh. And my son is 9, so they're the same age. And I'm a fierce protector of children. People know I can be the most loving savage when it comes to kids. Yeah, especially. So it's funny because I see her face and I get all emotional. So weird. Because I did not just expect that. Wusa. So yeah, so that was the picture he sent me. But I was like, do you have any others, that I can like just look at? Because that didn't really work for me. Um, just so I could lean into her energy. And so basically, I was able to find, or he was able to find, I can't remember if I found them or he found them and sent them to me, the 2 other pictures. And I used those to basically tap in, you know? Um, so yeah, should I share that video now or wait? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I think people would want to know, like, how do you prepare yourself? And I mean, you touched on it a little bit, right? But how do you really prepare to tap into someone's energy in such it's a very critical situation, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get into this kind of state? And I know you mentioned a couple of things. I'm wondering if people wanted to know a little bit more about that just before you actually show the messages that came in, um, inviting you to choose to help this girl. So yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, so I also, because I mentor spiritually gifted people, so I teach them how to channel, basically receive messages and within the boundaries of love and light. Those are my concrete boundaries. Um, so I got into, it would be like more like a meditative state. And I use different frequencies, whether if it's 1111, 963 hertz, to kind of just get myself centered. As a person who has so much amplified energy, I have to really get centered um, into the present moment and to be able to just really tap into my own energy so that I can tap into someone else's. So I put sound on, I just relaxed, I kept things quiet. um, Hi, my love. Can you please bring the dogs out? I don't know, my love, but I am on live right now. So can you handle that, please? And thank you. All right. Well, I'll help you in a little bit. Okay. But can you take Molly and Rosie with you? Sorry, this is the issue with being a mompreneur. Go,
I
Molly.
love it.
Go, Mom. Go, Molly. Go, Tom. Go outside and go potty. Thank you. You're the best. I love you. You'll figure it out.
Mm,
Yeah. How do you do this? My
I
gosh.
love it.
And they've been so like just chill and doing their own thing because they were preparing for me to go live. But anyway, I digress. Long story short, I get into a meditative state. I just tap in. I get really, really centered. I focus on my breath work, which is your famous saying, right? Focus on your breath work. And yeah, so I just kind of let it flow. I've been probably a channel my whole life. I just didn't realize how powerful I could channel, I think would be the thing. So yeah, I mean, that's really what it was. You know, I used
Mhm.
meditation, I used breathing, I got centered um, to get focused and ready. Yeah, that's what I did.
Beautiful.
That's how I prepared. You know, there was nothing magical about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important to know because you want that clarity and want that accuracy, when you're in this line of work. There's a lot of noise sometimes because we're just so extra sensitive. So, how do you trust, what's coming in? And, through our work, we just work to purify our vessels so we know the messages that we are receiving are aligned with our intention, and body, mind, and spirit. So thank you for sharing,
Definitely.
girl.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
So the next question would be probably on everybody's mind is what kind of insights did you receive, right? Like the details. Um,
Yes.
and how did you know it was like helpful, versus not helpful? Like, I know you sent a message back with the details. So discerning, what details will be important. Um, so yeah, I'll let you start off with that.
Well,
The
it's
insight.
interesting because you said that question and we were on for 17 minutes and 17 seconds. So always know when you're having a divine conversation or look for the synchronicities because those things can be very subtle, but this is definitely divine timing considering the spring equinox and all of that. And so here, I'm going to play the little video just so you guys can see the pictures that I use to tap into her energy. That really, really was important for me to be able to connect with her, so I'll
Mhm.
share that with you guys. And then I just show you glimpses of the actual channeled message that I kind of went through and wrote. You won't be able to really read it on the screen, but I am going to share the messages with all of you so you know what I downloaded and okay, so that's her
Beautiful.
beautiful little face. Um, and those are just
So
screenshots
cute.
of the divine message. She is so cute and adorable. My gosh. Um, and so yeah, so basically what happened was I channeled the message, right? So I'll just give you the black and white of what I channeled right now so you'll have that information as we kind of progress the conversation. So when I tapped in, what I got was it says a white guy with reddish light hair, kind of patchy in the front, like a receding hairline, maybe. Was closer to the exit of the park, either on the Old State Road or near the beginning of the loop, could possibly walk through the woods with her to get to a vehicle. Blue car made from metal with a shiny silver bumper. It could have been an older model. That was unclear. Still alive, but not doing great. So that was important. That was very important. And he does have the same kind of, he has some kind of mental health issues. This is not the first time, though. It looks like they're in some kind of smaller cabin where the wood is rough cut and darker brown. It feels like there's older, like the imagery would be like the 70s pressed velvet couch. For those of you, your parents might have had older sofas. Orange, gold, and brown couch. She's in some type of closet, very tight space. She said he could kill her because his moods changed a lot. He has some type of small molar beauty mark on his face. Immature in some ways, but still a functioning adult. She doesn't really understand what happened to her and what's going on, just trying to be strong. If you go out of the park and you take a left and then go down and take a left, then you're going to see like a winding path. And it'll be like you're taking now almost a right. And then you're going to kind of go up like a hill up to the top. And there is where the cabin is. So they're far enough, but not too far from the campsite. He watched all the kids going around the loop. So he was very mindful of her by herself. Her head hurts. She may have a lump on her head, or he could have used like a needle or a drug on her. His name sounds like Michael or Michael Myers. It's something like Michael Rydell, Michael Kreidel, which his names, when we'll see when the outcome is only rhyming, it's not exactly on point. She said, please find me fast because I won't last too long. His name could even be Midel. People may have called him Mick for short, maybe even wore a bluish hoodie, possible brown hiking boots on, average sized man, almost inconspicuous, kind of like the guy next door. She feels hungry, no food really in the cabin, and you can get water, but not necessarily in the cabin. I don't know if there's not a sink or the pipes are broke, doesn't live there per se. It's either a family or friends. So literally that's my written typed message. With the boots, they were more like, kind of like the typical hiking boot. And what's interesting, the uncle that I'd met when I actually met up with them knew the name, and I cannot remember that now, but the different type of boots that you'd wear. So that was my channeled message. Mm-hmm. So I got the message and I'm like, now what? What do I do with this message? You know what I mean? I was like, okay. So I was like, well, I texted my son's father. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this message now, because then I felt very conflicted. Like, that's a huge thing. I don't take care and compassion for people lightly. And because it's such a monumental thing, I'm like, well, God, what if I didn't share this message and it was important? What if I do send it and I look like a total clown? So all of these things were like going through my mind, like, people are going to think I'm freaking crazy. I don't know. But I sent it and I was like, here's the message. Do with it what you want. Do with it what you want. And so we chatted on the phone. He's like, is it okay if I send it to, Mark, his business partner? And I was like, sure. Okay. So they sent it to him. Now, God bless him, he passed away, his business partner, recently. And sudden and tragically and unexpectedly. So, prayers to him and his family and his beautiful kids. So Mark was like, Jose's like, can he call you? I was like, I guess. I mean, I don't know why you want to call me, So I say, yeah. So I'm also, at the same time, I spoke to my niece, Desiree, and, I know Desiree is very gifted. She's still expanding her gifts and she's still leaning into them, but I know she's a very intuitive person. So I'm sitting at my house and I'm like, do you want to take a ride with me? And I'm like, I think I should just go up that way, because I'm like, in my mind, because I'm such a visual person and I can see things that maybe many others can't see, I'm like, I should just drive there, right? And I should just drive around and see because I know the bend, and it was like literally very sharp where you're going to have to then kind of backtrack and go up. So in my mind, I'm like, if I see this, I know I'm going to know. I know my body will know. I will know. I will feel it. Like, and how do you tell this to people? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, but I know if I see it, I will know exactly where she is. So, and I gave all those directions, and so Mark, who happened to be lieutenant fireman, calls me and he's like, hey, can you speak to, I don't know what he said, a captain, sergeant of police, I don't know, someone in law enforcement. So at this point in time, I'm like freaking out, like, what in the hell? Like, and he's like, yeah, so they're asking me questions, in detail. And so, and I think their mind, they were trying to reconcile how me being a complete outsider, I've never been to that location. I've never been to that campground. I've never been in that area. I don't know the little girl. I don't know the family. I don't watch the news. So I had no updates or anything from that either. But I think they were just like, well, how would she know these things if she hasn't been around, And
Mm-hmm.
but
And
so many things were in alignment with what
yeah,
they
and
are.
I think right. And I think it's important to detail, like to stop and really just let that sink in on how much detail you received. Like that was a lot, right? I mean, I channel, but I'm a very simple 2 word, 3 word, maybe a little phrase channel. But I think that the distinction here is that you brought in so much detail that when you sent that message and he read it and showed it to law enforcement, there were already synchronicities in those details that prompted him to call you. And I remember when you called me, you were like, oh my goodness, should I go? Like that was a moment. I remember that moment when you called me, right? So
Yeah,
it was, you were being pulled, but also at the same time, like, is it my space? How am I going to be received? And I mean, working with law enforcement, is not something the spiritual community hears about like every day, right? Like,
right.
and to talk about how they received your insights, I think is a perfect segue into that question. So, how did they receive your insights? Obviously, they saw enough detail in your channel message to prompt the call to say, "Hey, I want to talk to this person," which I think is a very significant moment in this story. So, please, Brandy, continue. Oh my gosh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. So I'm in the car. My niece Desiree is with me. And you remember, so this is a part that I forgot. When I was channeling, I reached out to you and I sent you her picture and I said, can you tap in? And you told me, yes, she's confined, she's restricted. And I'm trying to think of what else you told me. She was confined, she was restricted, um, still alive. Yeah, I think you really just kind of co-signed or confirmed what I had said, and yeah, so when I get this phone call, now mind you, I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is just so far out of my element. What? I'm like, girl, what? Who does this, right? This isn't, what were those old shows like, where, they're missing case or 48 hours or whatever. So, but they were so just cool and open and like if it was nonchalant, he's like, no one can get in because there was reporters all at the end of the campground. The whole road was basically shut off because they were still in search for her. But he's like, Mark, and then the other guy, I cannot remember his name. He was wonderful. And I apologize. They came and they met me down the road at the fire station and picked me and Desiree up, brought us to the campground, where we got to, they just, dropped us off. And many of the people were, part of the police and sheriff and state troopers and, all of that. But the family was there. So I can say overall, it was like They received me so kind and loving. They're like, no, we work with people like you all the time. And I was so shocked by that. I was like, really? You do? You know, like they never made me feel crazy or just, they were like, yeah. And then, so I can remember in that moment when I met the mom and the uncle. And it's weird because normally I'm such an emotional person, but I was just almost like I was in my body, but not in my body because I knew there was a job to do. You know, when you're channeling, you're in a different frequency than you are when you're in your regular state. So, and I can remember the uncle just saying, "Do you know where she is? Do you know where she is?" Normally, the me Brandy, just seeing the little girl's face makes me emotional. I would have lost my shit right there. Period, point blank. I would have just lost it. But I was like, okay, this is the messages that I received. I'm like, I tried to explain to them, these are how my gifts work. You know, I'm like, I get whatever I get for the highest and greatest good of all. I'm here. I'm like, so if I can connect to the space, maybe we'll see what other information I can get. And that's what we did. You know, I took my shoes off. Desiree and I walked the space. They, you know, and the mom, bless her heart, because I can't imagine being her. She had said, my daughter's a clairvoyant.
Mm.
That's how come I was able to tap into her energy so easily.
Wow.
And she was like, the mom had said to me, she said, Brandy, you know, I've talked to other mediums and other spiritually gifted people. And all the things that you have said are what they've said to me. The blue car, the silver bumper, the pathway. So she's like, so there's no way you would know that, you know? And I just was like, wow, okay. This is why they're so eager to talk with me, allow me to be here and share in such a pivotal moment for them, you know? And Desiree and I walked the land where the campsite was. They explained where her bike was found with the kickstand up. But then you could see this dip, right? Where the road was for the fence being down. Exactly where he took her from. Exactly. Like, it blew my mind seeing that right then and there. I was like, holy shit, like this is really happening. Like this is really happening. And that's where he took her from. Right there, you know? So
I just got the chills.
yeah. And in that
Wow.
moment, so you got to figure in this, by this time, she was kidnapped at 6:15, you know, around that time on September 30th. This is October 2nd. Now we're midday. What's crazy, it's coming up on the 48th hour. You know, we're not there yet, but we're close. And we all understand in that world, which I am not a part of, meaning the legal world or, you know, crime prevention and what have you, we understand how important within that first 48 hours the likelihood of finding someone who's been taken, you know? And they let me do my thing. And when I was there, I told them, I'm like, she's about 30 minutes away, 20, 30 minutes away. She's not as close as I felt earlier, you know? And I was able to tap into her again when I was there, you know, and she's like, yes, I'm still alive. You know, this is really hard and I'm exhausted and I'm weak and I just want to go home, you know? And so we actually got in vehicles and drove around with, you know, lieutenants and other police officers and the uncle, and, you know, my son's father's business partner and my niece. And we kind of, you know, went to different places that kind of met the benchmarks of what, you know, I had initially seen. And it's crazy because we did go to one place that I'm like, there has to be something wrong in that place. Because even like the windows were boarded up and it was actually a functioning house. It's not like a dilapidated environment. There's something going on there, but it wasn't the right house, you know, and we were going through this whole process. and checking different places, being MacGyver, fake breaking and entering. Like, so yeah, I mean,
Wow.
yeah. So, and when your heart is just, but it's like, I wasn't, like I said, I was in a channeled state. So I wasn't even, my job in that moment was to take whatever information I could to give it to them so people could do what they needed to do. And God willing, lead us in the right direction to where she was. So it's interesting. I think my niece Desiree, she couldn't make it today, but I felt like was frustrated because she was like, you kept telling them that she was X, distance away or miles away, but we're looking immediately close. And I was like, you're right. But I'm like, if they want to explore right now, who knows what information we can get. So
Mm.
the beautiful part is we were at this last, this building where anybody could have been hidden in there. It really makes you realize a different vantage point. And now, like, my respect for the police and officers is a very different vantage point, because I'm like, can you imagine this is how you see the world all the time? Like, this is a potential danger or a hazard or a place for, human trafficking, or someone can be hidden. You know what I mean? Like, that has to be their world. So I pray for them because that takes a lot of energy. But yeah.
Mm.
So anyway, so we're there, and then it happens. The phone call comes. The phone call comes that they found her. Everybody, I mean, jumped for joy. So you have now 2 trucks full of people that have now just been knocking on doors, exploring, breaking and entering, whatever was needed and necessary at the time that met the description, and I want to help people understand, just because you have gifts doesn't mean you're going to know everything. And it doesn't mean that every detail is going to come to you or that you're going to have it laid out and perfectly. And for me, that was true in this case too. I got what
Mm.
information was provided, and then a little more. Oh, and then when I was there and tapping in, it was like, oh, she's near like a green street, a green Ave, or green whatever. So, but they got
Wow.
the call. They found her.
And how did
Police.
it feel? How did it
Oh my,
feel for you, Brandy? Like, knowing that your intuitive gifts, like, we had a conversation after. You called me right away. But
yeah.
I just want everybody who's watching to know how it really felt, to contribute and to know, you were an integral part in this little girl being found. I mean, you could have chose differently and you didn't, and you chose to serve. And I just let us know how you feel in that moment. Share it with the world.
In that moment, I don't think I've ever felt such relief and pure just joy and gratitude that they found her. They found her intact. They found her
Mm.
alive and overall good, considering everything she has been to. It was like the greatest relief. But I was still, I think, shell shocked from the entire experience, because they did find her. Guess where they found her? Because they kept saying, do you see a house? What does a house look like? And I'm like, I don't see a house. I'm like, I wish I could tell you. And when I say the wood felt like rough cut, like I could still feel that to this day on my hands, that feeling of being trapped and isolated. And they found her in a camper. Was not his, outside, I guess, of his mom's house. And I only have some of the details, not all of them. And so apologize if there's something that's not perfectly accurate. Um, but she was found in a camper. So, of course, there's no food in there. She's trapped in a closet. That's where they found her. There is no running water because it's a camper, but you can bring water in because he wasn't far from the mom or the family member's house. That's why I couldn't get the imagery of the house, because it wasn't a house,
Mhm.
you know? And to just know, like, That little girl, everybody yelled and screamed and cried and was so just elated and happy. Like that drive back to the campground and to witness everyone hugging and happy and crying and grateful was probably one of the most profound moments I've ever had in my life. Like
Mm.
they found her, and she was 20 to 30 minutes from where I said, close proximity to Green Street, Green Avenue, because they found her near SPAC, which is the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, in that, vicinity, proximity. And everything was in alignment with, with that. So with that, I'm going to show you what the perpetrator looks like, just so we can see. Okay. So as you can see, he is a white guy. He has red hair. It is receding hairline. He functions as an adult, but definitely has mental health issues. This was not the first time that he's done some strange and off the wall things. My sister, Chelsea, had mentioned that I don't know how true this is, but I think she just said like his brother was like the Saratoga stalker or something. I don't even know what that means, but clearly if you put those two together, that's not a good thing. So every detail was on point. Like, and I would have no way to know. So my son's father sent me that, I think the day after they found her, the next day, and he had said, wow, Brand, like you're really gifted. You made me a believer. Like, I can't believe that this is like, and they found her. She was alive. And when I told the mom, and I think about that moment when I told the mom and I confirmed that she's still alive, just the relief on her face, and literally we were down to the wire at the 48-hour mark. And, so it was just incredible, that energy, these frequencies and essence that you can tap into, that we all can, to support humanity, to support other people, is just magical and incredible. And that was him. That's the dude, Craig
Mm.
Ross. And for clarification, how they found him was he was dumb enough to put a note at the little girl's parents' house. So with his fingerprints, that's how they found him. And thank God that he was so stupid, because who knows, So I say all that to say, it's like, to be part of that is just incredible. And I can only hope that, as my gifts grow and expand, that I can even serve at a greater capacity and level. I also do know that my heart is so sensitive that that's a lot. Like, I was done for like a week after that. Like that night when my body came back into my humanness of Brandy, I cried for probably a good 2 hours because I just couldn't believe the experience. And I couldn't believe that I could know those things or share those things. And it was the what ifs played out. What if I didn't share it? What if they did find her completely as part of my details? What a huge responsibility that is, to have someone's life potentially in your hands, and I don't take that shit lightly. I genuinely don't. And so I just lost it and I was exhausted, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I
Mm.
wouldn't change it for the world. Like,
Yes,
and
I know.
my niece just was like, wow, Titi Brandy, like having this experience with you, I just would have never understood how much is possible.
Mm. I mean, it impacted you definitely just kind of walking with you and witnessing you, going through that experience. I mean, she really was done, guys. Like for a week, she's like, I can't even believe that this even happened. And we talked about a little bit about the impact that that had on your purpose, as an intuitive guide, as a healer, as, what really just, what were the takeaways and how it impacted you, um, as a guide to just continue the work, continue to deepen into the work and provide your story for others so they can, step into that how you so beautifully did, even with so many doubts and fears and stuff coming up, right? You had the courage to continue. So,
Yeah, I would say my takeaways are nothing is impossible, that we all are gifted, and it's important, especially for those like myself who are powerful channels, to share and communicate the messages with the world. We can't allow our fear and our ego about how we think others are going to perceive us prevent us from doing what's right, and how we serve humanity and how we share messages, because in the event that I never did that day, who knows what would have happened? Maybe it would have been nothing. Maybe it would have been everything.
mm,
I know that was divinely part of the experience, and to help me learn to trust. That was the other thing, I think, learning to trust your messages. Like, I trust and I know when I deliver, right? But when you're tapping into someone you think is alive and in a difficult circumstance, you don't really, that's not something that my mind typically thinks of. When I think of channeling, I'm like, oh, okay, God's sending us messages. Angels are sending us messages. Ascended masters, master spirits, light beings, ancient civilizations, ancestors. Those are giving us messages, right? Because they're in spirit and they can.
yeah.
But the light bulb was like, energy is energy. And you can tap in to any energetic grid to help support.
Yeah. And make a real world impact with just one choice, one decision at a time. And that is just a beautiful testament and example of that. So it's
Yeah.
so powerful. And I mean, encouraging that faith. You always talk about your faith and understanding and trusting in your gifts and abilities, and the importance of using, being responsible with those gifts and using them for the greater good, because we all have that choice. So
Definitely.
thank you
Definitely.
for your service.
Mm. It's like when we all got back to the campground after we knew she was found, that's when I was starting to come back, within my own energetic field. And then I cried a little bit, just tears of joy, tears of happiness. Like, it's often not that likely that they're returned, that they come
Mm,
home, that their family gets to hug them and kiss them. And my son's father said, she's seems like everybody says she's doing pretty good. I don't have any follow-up information on that. And I always had said, I pray that one day I'm just going to hug that little girl, just knowing
mm,
that indirectly I was part of her story and part of her experience. And I just want to hug her and just tell her how grateful I am that she fought and that she used her gifts and she trusted her gifts to allow herself to communicate with me. Like,
wow.
she was already scared and going through
Hmm.
such a traumatic thing, but still allowed her gifts to communicate with me, to tap in and share information.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I just want to read some of these comments because I mean they're so beautiful. Promise says hi, Brandy.
hi.
This
Mm.
was a little bit earlier on, and Tony Lamana says, "You are a fine tuned vessel that spirit was able to utilize. Thank you always. You are a perfect vibration to be a vessel for spirit to work through. Thank you. Love and light." Desiree Cecilia says, "I think you found them." Right. Mary Lou Safford, she says, "Amazing on YouTube and blessings." Gary
Oh,
Terry says, "Blessings to all." Aisha, wow, thank you, Brandy, for your time, your help, your care, and overall for your love. Brandon Willis says hi.
hi, Brand. Hi,
Tracy
Aisha.
says, "Thank you. Thank you for caring for others the way that you do. You are such a beautiful light in this world. Aren't you part Native American?" Haha, we just had that conversation.
We did just have that conversation. I am part of the Blackfoot tribe, so
Yes,
yes, that is
yes.
true. With no tribal affiliation, but because my grandma's adopted. But yeah,
Joanne. Hey, Joanne. If you're still
oh, I
watching, she
love
says,
you.
"Hi, sisters." And I know you talked about law enforcement earlier, just being, in that energetic state of just anticipation of the worst. And Joanne says, as a law enforcement wife for nearly 20 years, she gets it and living with that perspective, just
Wow.
constantly in that amazing. And Joanne says, "Amazing gift." And Suzanne stopped by, Baker Mello.
Hi,
Hi,
Suzanne. We
Suzanne.
love you.
Yes, you are amazing, Brandy, she says. And Tracy also says, "Bless you." So just wanted to
Aw,
share those beautiful comments
thank
with
you.
everybody.
As I'm over here sobbing
Brandy.
over here.
Mm, yeah, so I think that's it, Brandy. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Any closing comments? Any other videos you have that you wanted to share? Not sure what you're packing over there, but um,
Ooh,
yeah,
watching in England. Yes. Thank you for joining us. You guys are so incredible and amazing. And
yeah.
don't mind me. I'm a little emotional over here because people are saying such beautiful things. And I
Oh,
think it's just a humbling experience. I don't think, I mean, I know for me, I ran from these gifts my whole life to the point that I didn't even realize that I had them. And so for you, all of you, this is a call to action to lean in to your gifts. These are gifts that God created in you. These are not something to be scared or afraid of. This is part of you as a human being, and you are created in the image of the Creator. So
mm,
trust that, grow them, expand them. Ashley and I are always here to support you on that journey and help you grow them, help you awaken them, help you find comfort in them and use them as an asset. And so this is, I think for me, that would be the message. Like my gifts where because I am a hyper empath who feels people's feelings, knows people's feelings, and embodies their pain in my body, I used to think it was a real burden. But look at how beautifully that shifted. How I could be part of such a magical experience that turned out wonderfully for this amazing little girl and this amazing family. You know, when your kid is 100 feet from you and their bike is remaining, but they're not, that is the most terrifying thing in the planet. So, by me leaning into my gifts and being fearless and trusting that this isn't something to be afraid of, that I'm not opening something that I can't control, understanding that this is part of God's will, like Allah's will, Yahshua will, whatever it is you believe in, source's will. I just strongly encourage you to do that. I want you all to take that away. Um, be fearless, trust yourself, trust that gut feeling, trust that intuition, trust your messages. Suzanne's on here. She's also a very powerful messenger and channel. And Joanne just would knock your socks off. Like there's just so many incredible gifted people. And I think we're doing what's right. We're serving humanity, and it just humbles me. It
mm,
really is like, wow, we can use this for good. And
mm.
beautiful things can come out of it. And this is a testament to that, you know?
Yeah.
This is a testament. And I don't think anything else. I think the last thing I would say is trust in divine timing. My son's father to be so closely connected to that and then call and send that to me. And I made the choice, right? I made the choice in that moment. Let me see if I can tap in. Like, no pressure, no requirements, no, am I going to get it right or wrong? Let me see if I can tap in. For those of you who are expanding your spiritual gifts or learning to trust your intuition, have fun with it, play with it, be gentle with yourself. There's no right or wrong, but that's what it was. I just let it flow. And to this day, it still shocks me. I'm like, he looks identical to what came. I'm like, his essence was what came. Her experience was what came. So, yeah, like just start trusting, serve humanity. Like all of you all are needed. We're light workers connecting with all of you light workers. There's nothing better or different about me. I'm just a vessel for source, and we're all just vessels. So if you choose to be that conduit, look at all the awesome things that can happen. So divine timing. There's no way he would send that to me. I would channel the message, and then it goes from this one to this one to this one. Like, Lord. And my niece Desiree was so also someone who's new, right? New to the game, learning her gifts, and still had powerful, powerful insights. Powerful. So supportive and integral to that experience. She was actually the first person who saw the dip in the fence. Because she's that sensitive to energy. And many of you people are going to think you're too sensitive or you're too much or you're crazy or whatever. But what I want to say to you is you're not. You're not. You're perfect. Oh, Tina, you're amazing too. I love you. I love all of you. I thank you guys so much for just joining this conversation. I don't know why it took me so long to have the conversation. I don't know. I think
all in divine timing, Brandy.
Yeah. Yeah, all in divine timing. Definitely.
Yes. Well, on that note, I think that is a beautiful way to send off our beautiful audience. Thank you guys for joining us live. You stuck with us through the situation, the conversation, and situation.
Right.
Please share your thoughts. We are doing this live. We're, creating so many things behind the scenes. This is going to be more of a podcast as we continue to do things live every week and be spontaneous right now and let it flow into what it's supposed to be. And we invite you, to check out our website and see if you want to join us in our community of like minds. Become a balancing key pillar because we truly embody the knowing that we cannot do this on our own. All of our beautiful, unique blend of gifts are absolutely needed and necessary to come together so we can expand so much more exponentially. So,
yes.
On that note, Brandy, I'll let you take us out, girl, because that's
I think that what I want to say is that to all of you joining us, we're divinely connected, right? Each one of us in some way, shape, or form has had this beautiful, powerful, or maybe minute energetic connection. But there's no way in the world you watch this live by accident today. And there's no way that it was an accident when you watch this on replay or find us and connect with us. There's a reason behind that. And if anything I can say from this experience is I want all of you to embrace all of you and use your voice, share your messages, trust yourself, grow, expand, love one another, and let's just connect. Let's build. Let's shine. We're in this ascension right now, 3D to 5D, And again, Ashley said, we can't do it alone, right? We can't. Because why? Because it's all connected and we're all connected.
Yes.
I love you all unconditionally. You're the best. Share this with everyone. We look forward to you guys continuing. We're about to drop our app full-fledged. Our podcast is going to be on and popping. We're just doing these damn things. So thank you for joining the journey. And you all are awesome. Keep shining, keep being epic and amazing. And thank God that this little girl made it home.
Peace and blessings, divine souls.
Yes. We love you all unconditionally.
Yes.